Okay, hopefully that's working. So, g'day guys, welcome to another session. I'm just working on the Airfix Spitfire. Last time I left you, I'd been working on the gloss coat because I had some trouble with the thinning I'd done on the original one with the VMS gloss. It wasn't the VMS's problem, it was mine. I used a different thinner and it didn't turn out to be as compatible as I'd hoped. So I had to go over it with some sanding and then some GX gloss just to sort of put it on because I wanted a fairly thin gloss coat at that point. And then since then, I've gone over it with VMS satin. So this is where we're up to with the model itself. It's isn't too bad. There's a couple of little minor faults with it. I'll just zoom out the camera a little bit to start with. Go the other way. But overall, I'm pretty happy with it. You can see the finish there looks all right. You can see there's a slight weathering came through from the airbrush weathering we did earlier on. And you can also see that the decals have gone on, and I haven't weathered them or anything at the moment, but you can see they're on flat. You can't see the carrier film, which is one of the goals. Looking underneath, again, we can see the weathering there looks pretty good actually. It's not overdone. I'm happy with that. And I've cut the holes in the decals here for the ejection ports for the machine gun. And the only problem, well, I say the only problem, I had a lot of trouble getting these decals to settle down. I ended up having to use Tamiya Strong on basically all of them. And on ones like this, I had to use ultimately three goes. So put two on while it was fairly new and fresh on the model, and then I left it overnight, and then I put a third coat on in the morning, and we finally got there. I'm just saying live chat's not available. I'm not sure why. It's interesting. Anyway, I'm hoping that's connecting up. All right, so basically that's where we got to. Now, the only thing that didn't work out the way I'd hoped was over here. And you can see this decal actually softened and melted a little bit. So I am going to have to touch that up. I can't live with that. So that's going to need a bit of respraying to get it done. I had to actually order the colours in, which I've done now. So at some point when I'm filling up to it, I can tackle that. There's a few other things to do in the meantime, so I haven't worried about it too much. But that's where we're up to with the actual model. Decals are on for the most part. There is about 3 of them to go onto the propeller hub that I haven't done yet. Also, while off camera, I did do a little bit of spraying. So I've done things like the that's the center wheel hub, and that's in just a silver. That was the SMS silver. And I did a few parts like that, so you can see there's a landing gear done in silver as well. I also sprayed the exhaust stacks, which are in silver at the moment. Obviously it's not going to be a realistic colour, but you have to start with something. And the other thing I went back and redid, because I just wasn't happy with the finish, was the propeller. So I've redone the propeller. The propeller tips now look better to my eye than what they did before, and I've used not black, but I've used Ammo MIG's rubber and tyres. Really I rarely use. I'm getting an error here. Sorry, I've just stopped. I'm just saying that YouTube's complaining. Oh, okay, it's complaining there's a bit of buffering. Yeah, okay. I have started the process of getting an electrician, but to put the data cable in, but it'll be a while. They're about 3 weeks behind on their work. Anyway, so I've added some rubber and tyres. I don't like using pure black or pure white typically on models because it just looks a bit too toy-like. So that's what I've started with on the propeller. And I've also used the same colour, not surprisingly, on the tyres. Alright, so what I'm going to look at first is I'm just going to assemble this propeller, because I can't really do any more weathering on it till I have, and I've got some decals on it. So I'll just do that now. There's a total of 5 parts. And we'll look at the instructions here. You can see I've got these parts here that I've painted. These two are just sitting over spare until I'm ready to put it into the actual plane. So I just want to do this front assembly part here. So we've got the spinner, and we should have the other parts here as well. Just using a bit of blue tack there to hold that in place. So I'm just going to get that out. It's been there for a while, so it's a bit sticky. Okay. Let's see if we can figure out how it works. Right, so it looks like I'm going to need a couple of more parts. Some look at things. So that goes through there. And then through there. And then presumably that's squared off. Yep. That goes on there. And it's going to go on there. Allegedly they all fit. And of course they don't. Is it keyed? Looks like it is keyed. See if we can get this to work without these parts. Okay. Take these bits off. Let's see how we go. Yeah. Not the best Airfix, but we'll have to do, won't it? Okay, so for this one we'll just use some of the Ammo Mig glue because it's got a nice fine applicator on it. See, it's not a great fit for a modern kit. I don't know why. I'll try spinning it around, see if there's a particular way it likes to sit. It's a bit weird that it's not fitting. Can't see any flash. As good as it's going to get. Try again. Oh, that's disappointing. It's got to fit better than that. That's really disappointing. Take a little bit of an edge off these parts to see if that helps. Yeah, it does. Okay, so it looks like Airfix's multi-day is slightly too big. So I've just got these 3 keys on the inside of the spinner that are supposed to fit into 3 holes or cutouts on the other piece there, but it looks like whatever's happened when they've been moulded, they've come out a little bit too large and they're just not allowing the parts to fit as nicely as they should. Let's do a bit of surgery to try and get a nicer fit. It's still not going to be fantastic, but that's serviceable. Alright, I think we put some glue on it this time, we should be in business. Of course, again, if I wasn't doing a quick build originally, I would have probably just done a dry fit of all this before I painted up the parts, but originally I was trying to get it done in 48 hours. I sort of got caught out with the cockpit seat for the same reason, because I didn't do enough testing before I glued it all together. And it's not a Tamiya kit, so sometimes you do have to take some time. That's probably going to need a little bit more pressure on it for a bit. going to have to put another coat of another bit more glue in that, but I'm going to just leave it for a little bit to see if I can at least get it to partially set. And then I'll go around it again. It's not too bad. So while we're waiting for that, let's look at these exhaust stacks. So what I'm going to do with these, if I can find it, I'm going to use these guys. These are Tamiya weathering master sets, which for all intents and purposes are pastels in makeup, and basically the makeup. That to me is, I don't know if they've changed the formula, I think they have, but that's clearly where the inspirations come from. A couple of applicators. Here's these like little applicators you can get for applying your makeup. And so that's why I'm not too bothered about the original colour of these, because I'm going to be changing it anyway. I had a look online to try and find a photo or something to use as a reference, which I did find. These Merlins actually burnt pretty clean, so they didn't really get like sooty as much as some of the radial engines and things like that do. So that's a good starting point for us. First thing I'm going to do as a base colour is I'm going to tone down the silver, and then we'll start adding the actual burnt effects. This can get a bit messy, so I'm just going to put a bit of paper towel down to help us with it. And don't worry, don't get too obsessed about the colour names. I'm just going to use these for reference. So we've got titanium, gunmetal and copper. And I'm just going to get a start. I'll probably use the titanium, I think. We'll see how we go. And use this stuff. It's as simple as rubbing it on. Now, because this is a pastel, I think this set's getting a bit old, to be honest. I think I probably do need to buy a new one of these. Let's try the silver and see if that helps a bit. Yeah, it's helping a little bit. So got another applicator here. This might be a bit softer. Try one of these and see if it helps. I think this set's probably due for replacement. I've had these sets for ages, years and years. So I think they're just getting old and probably drying out or doing something they're not supposed to do. But we'll make them work for this. So the first thing it does is dull it down a bit. Put the two side by side, you can probably see that that's the original colour, that's the new one. But that's not, that set's not behaving very well. So let's try this one, see how we go. This is the newest set. Not much better. What's going on here? The applicator. Sort of. I have to apply a bit of water. I didn't want to do that. Anyway. So let's try this trick. I don't recommend you do this with your good sets. But when they get a bit old and we're having trouble with them. You can try applying a bit of it with water and smoothing it out. Because it's the exhaust stack, it doesn't matter too much if it's a bit messy. I'll do the same on this too. Okay. Well, I can introduce some colour and see if we can maybe work with that. Good old-fashioned soot. There we go. That's getting a bit of the dull finish I want. So yeah, I think some of these sets are getting a bit too old. I may have to replace a few of them because they're not behaving like I'd expect them to. Alright, so there's a comparison there between the two. There's our nice bright shiny, and there's our dull. And then once we've done that, we can start introducing some browns into it. It'll mix with the existing pastels. You can see there we're starting to get a bit of colour to it. You can go as far as little as you want. I'm just going to pop across to my reference photo for a sec. So we need some darker browns and some burnt lighter colours as well. No, we're done with that. Sorry, I know you can't see what I'm doing. I'm just bringing up the browser window so I can see it. What have we got? Okay, so I'm going to use some yellow towards the end. Sand might be nice. Let's try a bit of sand on it. I need some more brown too. Look at those photos, it's pretty dark around the back. I'll need to put some soot on it as well. Okay, so get some of this, mix that into the back as well. Alright, now we can go with the darker colours a bit. One of the tricks to doing this stuff is multiple colours because even though it's very subtle, your eyes pick up on it. When we've got the finished model done, you'll notice it. So I'm just using this to dull down any spots of mist. So, and then we've sort of got the base finish now. And I can go over that then and add the highlights and things. So I'll just get this one to basically the same point. Yeah, I think this particular set here is basically shot. I think it's dried out too much. The first coat here is just to dull it down, which if you just want a metallic finish like on a gun or something, that might be all you need. Now we'll go in with the brown. It's like a rust finish, but when you blend it with the blackness already there, the soot that's on there, it comes out a slightly different colour. Okay. And now we can look at adding some darker colours and trying to get it all to work. We'll go with the dark mud colour here, which again, this is not going that well. It's sort of looking a bit old. Got any others I could use? I wonder if I can use this set. That one's got a nice dark brown if it'll work. I think these are all drying out, which is really annoying. Getting there. Now we just add a little bit of a highlight on one or two of the stacks. Because they don't burn even. Admittedly, this is a 3 stack, and the picture I'm using is for a different Merlin, but anyway, so there's the finish. A bit messy, but it should look alright in the plane. So a quick look. Obviously we're going to have to put exhaust stains over this as well, so these keys, so you can't put them in the wrong way. Doesn't look like it. I'll have to double check that's the right way. I think it is. And that's what it looks like on the model. Really quick way of doing it. It's a bit messy on your fingers, but and it's normally a little bit easier to do than what I've had to do, just because I'm fighting these weathering powders that are getting a bit old. Let's do the other one. I don't clear coat these or seal them or anything. Generally speaking, we're not going to touch them once they're in there. They will get a little bit of paint on them, because when I do the smoke stains on the fuselage, I'll blend that in with these stacks then. Just look at that one for reference. This one looks roughly the same. Doesn't have to look the same. In fact, it's probably better. It's not exactly the same. It's not working for me. And a little bit of lighter stuff. I'll put quite a bit of light one on the back, like she's running a bit lean on the back. We got some. That one's got a little bit too much silver on it. Just go for the soot. Just lay it down a bit. So this bank of cylinders is not quite running right. All right, that'll do. I'll just see if I got these around the right way. I don't know how to be sure. I'm not sure about the Spitfire. if they want to go that way. If I put them in, they're probably going to be around the wrong way, aren't they? I don't know. She clicked in. My feeling is that's probably the right way. That one's just pulled out again. All right, we'll go for it. Got the glue where I didn't want it. Where'd it go? Oh, there it is. Alright, that's the starting point. We can go in and tone them down more later if we want. Just put some more powders on them. We can also, don't forget, I'm going to have a bit of a smoke thing here, so I'll run that over them as well, so that'll dull it down a little bit. But yeah, if the camera would focus, they look don't look too bad. The Merlins, from what I could see, actually burnt pretty well. They weren't dirty engines, so I'm assuming they used pretty good fuel with them, because they didn't have a lot of the dark stains and things you get with some engines and some theatres of war where the fuel perhaps wasn't as good a quality. So, all right, we'll leave that. Probably needs a little bit of toning down, but I can do that. I can do that with a airbrush, so that's good enough. And I'm going to have to get some more of these sets, which aren't particularly cheap. But these are really good sets. I don't know how many times I go back to them, so if you do a lot of models, they're worth your while. But they do eventually go off. And when I say they eventually go off, these are probably, well, some of these are over 10 years old, so I can't really quibble too much. It takes 10 years for them to run out. But you just can see there it gets a bit messy. But they're great for dioramas and tanks and, oh goodness, whatever you do. Of course, now I've got on my fingertips, so I'll go all over the model, so I guess that's called weathering. All right. Oh, there's one more thing I was going to do with them too. I was going to have a bit of a think about the propeller with them. Whether I was going to do a bit of weathering with them. Yeah, I'll come back to that. Or I was going to use rain marks, I wasn't sure. Let's see what colours I got. I have got a grey. I wonder if that would do it. It's a really good grey for Panzers, actually. It might be a bit too light for this. I might try it on the tyres. Let's see how we go. And then we'll go to the other side. It's got too much on it now. So, what do? Let's try this. I don't know if you'll see the difference. Let me get the other wheel. Yeah, it's not a lot of difference, is there? I might have to use all paints on this. But I'll just do the same on this one since I've started. I might try a couple other things too. I couldn't see any evidence of a lot of wear on these propellers. I believe underneath this they're wood, and I just didn't find, even on the fairly weathered Spitfires, a lot of wear on these things. So for that reason, I'm not going to go crazy. I will tone down the yellow a little bit. Oh, she's come apart. I will tone down the yellow a little bit, I think. But that's probably about all I'll do. What I'm doing here is just adding very tiny bits and just smoothing them out. Don't forget to do the back, and don't forget for your spinner to fall off. And all I'm trying to do here really just get a little bit of tonal variety. So that's actually enough. Actually, that's not too bad. Alright. Wheels less successful. I can still work on that. And back to trying to glue this thing. Am I going to have to use super glue? It's looking like I might. Happy coincidence, because I've got this stuff on my fingers. It's actually made the spinner a little bit dirty. Yeah, look there, you can see it's got a little bit of wear. Nothing too much. It's enough. I'll leave that to dry. Hopefully that'll work. Now these guys actually have masks on them. Try to get slightly better finish on the inside of the wheels. I'll just scratch that one. Oh well, if I position it right, you won't see it. Not perfect, but it looks a bit better. And then this side, you put in the actual hub that Airfix provides as a spare, or as a separate part, which is good. Right. Now I want to do a bit more work on the actual aircraft itself, but I think I'm going to have to briefly leave you for a second. I'll let the video keep streaming, just because I need to go and wash my hands so I don't have this stuff on it all the time and put fingerprints all over the model. So I'll just leave that and the propeller there so you can see what we've done. Because this is a, as I said, because it's basically a pastel, you can just keep rubbing it and smoothing it out if it looks a bit too blotchy. I could put a bit of black over that if it looked too much worn, but I actually don't think that looks too bad. Probably leave that. All right, go back in the seat. Right, so yeah, I'll have to put a little bit of black soot on that just to tone it down, but that's going to work. Now, few jobs to do on this one. I know most people would go and put panel line washers all over it at this point, and I would have done that too. But you know, I've actually got to a point where I don't know if I want to do that. I was looking at this model today and I thought, you know, I'll use panel line washers discreetly on it. I'm just putting it down, sorry, so none of the weathering powder that's left around gets on it. But I don't think it needs it everywhere, to be perfectly honest. I think because I've done most of the panel lines with the airbrush, they're fine. So I'm just I don't want to make them stand out too much. I quite like the camouflage being the thing that you notice. So with that in mind, I'm just going to do a little bit of weathering on the bottom here, as much just to show you as anything else, because I guess it's expected that we do a bit of weathering on the bottom. I'm not going to do a huge amount because, again, kind of depends on the aircraft. Some aircraft had a lot of leaks underneath and some didn't. Looking at the pictures I could find of the Spitfire, you'd always get the squadron hack that would basically leak like a sieve, but most of them didn't. That's the truth of it. Most of them weren't that bad. So I don't really want to make this look like it's leaking everywhere, because I just don't know if that's terribly realistic. And a lot of people have it leaking at the front. As far as I can tell, that's just an air intake, so I'm not quite sure why that would be leaking fluids as much. So if it's going to be leaking anywhere, this has got a radiator in it. Not sure, actually. I think that's an oil cooler. So, does it need a lot? Probably not. This is going to be very subtle, is what I'm trying to say. There's not going to be a lot on this one. But we'll do a little bit just to show you. So, when you're doing your streaking, you can use something like white spirits. Works fine. Or if you're being fancy, you can use VMS's Universal Weathering Carrier, which has a few purposes. And one of them is you can use it like white spirits. As far as the actual product I'm going to use, just because it's easier, I'm just going to use some of this Ammo MIG Dark Streaking Grime. I'm not even sure I need dark streaking. I wonder if I've got a lighter one. Actually, I have. I might use this one. Streaking Grime, which is more of a brown. Be a bit more for contrast anyway. So you can see there, it's just a, I hope it's coming up, it's like a dark brown. If you don't want to do that, you could use oil paints, mix your own. Depending on what mood I'm in as to which one I do. Because I'm only putting a little bit on here, I don't feel the need to go and mix up a whole bunch of oil paint. I'm going to need very little of this for this project. We'll need a brush. Let's see what I got. Probably have a streaking brush somewhere. Goodness knows where. What I should do. Okay. So first things first. I'll wet the area. Don't put too much on there. Take some off. Take our camera for you. I'll dip the brush and basically wipe most of it off. That's it. I don't even know if that's showing up on camera. I can see it. I'm not sure you can see that on camera. But it's there. As I said, I don't really want a lot on this one. Try putting a bit more on here for you. You can see that a bit better. you go. Subtle. Really not... Again, I'm doing a super messy one. Even less so on this one. Alright. I don't know if you can see it. Hopefully you can. Slight bit there. Very slight bit in there. And a little too much here. Like I said, don't really want to put a lot of streaking on this one. Just, that's enough. I've done most of it with the airbrush. I'm going to put a little bit more weathering on it with the airbrush, so I don't need to get too excited about that. So what I'm going to do now is talk a bit about the weathering, the panel lines and stuff. So I'm going to start with this one, which is deep grey. Really where I want to use it is on these, I assume they're these little panels for oils and refueling and stuff like that. Make them stand out a little bit more. But again, we're going for subtle here. Probably a bit too heavy a brush anyway. Need something a bit finer. Okay. So if I zoom in, you can see what I've done there, hopefully. That's better. So if I compare that, with these ones, for example, Yeah, so this one here, if I put it in camera, there it is. This one here I'm going to use proper panel line wash for, I think. I'm wondering whether I should use an oil one or a water-based one. I guess it's going to be dictated by which is closest. So it's probably going to be an oil one. Okay, looks like we're going to be going back to the old Tamiya. I think this might be a bit too strong, but we'll see how we go. That's not too bad. It's a little strong, but so I'm just going to use this where I think it's needed. Remember, I'm going to be doing a little bit of airbrushing here as well for some of these panel lines, so I don't have to go crazy with it. Oops, didn't do a very good job on that. So as you can see, I'm being very subtle with it. Really not trying to get super heavy with it. Just basically where I think the panel lines might just need a little bit of encouragement. I'll use a bit. Might even try a bit on the on those fuel tanks. There we go. Molding's not that good. It's better. Okay. You know, I think that's about all I want to do. Got some, as I said, some airbrushing to do, but panel line wise, I'm pretty happy with that. Let's have a look underneath. I'm not going to use black on the underneath, that's a bit too strong. What will I use? Let's try this green. No, I don't want green brown. Deep grey work. Let's see if deep grey would work. Why have I got another bottle? It's deep grey. What's this one? Oh, that's the wrong bottle. Top. It's made a mess. Anyway. Okay. Let's try this one. No, not happy with that. Probably have to mix my own. I'll try the Tamiya one and see if that works. I think I've got grey. I've got more of these somewhere too. Anyway, I'll try the grey. So let's give that a clean. Let's try the grey and see how it happens. Too light. Really don't want to use black. Black's just too dark. Sure, I know what I'm doing. It's a panel line wash. Let's see if this one works better. Really, because I've had to put so much varnish on when I was patching up the bottom, it's actually made it harder to get the to get it to flow. Stop very soon on this bit because I think I'm overdoing it. I don't want every panel line highlighted. Alright, so I think you can see the streaks there, subtle but it's there. There is some panel line washes, but if it's not jumping out at you, then I did my job basically. That's because that's sort of the look I wanted. The yellow I'll tone down with some airbrush work. I might put a little bit in those wheel wells there. Let's get them wet. Okay. Right. All right. So next up, I think, is to do a little bit of weathering on it. I'm going to do that tail last because it's going to annoy me. And I'll probably do that off camera because it's going to be very time consuming. So what I'll do now is do some weathering. And the reason I need to do the airbrush weathering is because these decals, of course, are all nice, shiny and new looking. So I need to look at that, and I need to look at an exhaust stain as well. So we'll just put this stuff aside. Do a quick clean up here. Thing about the weathering too is I can come back to it. I don't have to do it on one session because I'm using oil paints and stuff. I can come back and put them on any time I like. So there's no great need to rush it. Alright, so for the weathering, we're going to use the same trick I used before. So I've got, I'll start with this one. Pans of grey, or it's a dark grey XF24, which is part of I think it is the RLM. I can't remember which colour it is. Anyway, it's a Pans of grey you put on your tanks. bit lighter actually than the real one, but everyone does their pens this lighter grey than the real colour. It's almost black when you see it in real life. So the grey is a bit, it's a little bit exaggerated, I guess is how you put it. Going to need some isopropyl alcohol. Don't use your normal thinners, because this stuff sprays a bit differently for this sort of effect. And okay, I'm just going to put some in there. And how much paint you add? Well, I just, generally speaking, dip the brush in the paint and then just dip it in the isopropyl like so. And then I can just do that and see what it looks like. Go for slightly darker, I think. It's probably a little bit too dark. A little bit more. We'll just eyeball it here till I get it to where I want it. Yeah, we'll try that. Because my spray booth is currently full of other stuff, I'll do this bit on the main camera, which shouldn't be too bad anyway. Actually, there's another bit I'm going to do as well. I forgot about. Right. So I'm just going to use a 0.2 needle airbrush. Just like clean before we start. Okay. It's a bit too thick, or a bit too heavy I should say. So what I might do with it, since it is, I might as well not waste it. That can be the start. Won't be the finish, but it can be the start of that. Okay. Way too thick. Oops, I went out. At this point I'm just going over the decals and just trying to do something. I'm just trying to line them up a little bit. Because this wash is really thin, it's not going to be super obvious what I've done. Which is fine. Notice the isopropyl dries really quickly, which is another reason why it's a good see I'm just using it to tone down the markings a bit. Don't know if that's showing up on the camera, but if you look at those roundels, you can see they're actually not one colour anymore. There's actually a slight difference in the reflectivity. Okay. All right. So next up, we're nearly there. For this session anyway, we'll try and do the exhaust stains, I think. Why not? Got the airbrush out. So for this, it's kind of a similar idea, but rather than using isopropyl, I'm going to use lacquer thinner. And I think there's two colours. I think there's a light colour and a dark colour on the exhaust on these things. Just have a look. I think they run fairly lean from memory. Yeah, it's quite subtle. They run quite lean. So there'll be a little bit of smoke. And then I'll have to go back over it with a lighter colour. Transparent colours. I'll use that. I've got about 3 bottles of smoke. I'm going to be here somewhere. It's not the one I'm looking for, but I'll do. Think? No, that won't do. It's the wrong colour. I've got titanium in that. Got titanium. Not really. old titanium. So I'm going to do it. It's interesting. Just looking at the picture, it's pretty subtle. I'm going to have to go back over it with another colour, but I'm not sure what colour I'm going to use after this. So think about that. So this is, to me, is, go back so I can see what you can see on camera. Hopefully you can see, oh come on. Right, so this is, to me, is smoke. It comes in a lacquer and an acrylic, or their sort of alcohol-based thing. Doesn't matter which one you use. Yeah, as long as you thin it with not X20, but use a lacquer thinner for this particular one. It just sprays nicer, it dries quicker, and you can sort of layer the effect if you need to. The X20 just, I don't know, it just doesn't give quite the same effect. So just mix that up. And there you go. Okay. Now, from what I can see on the Spitfire I'm looking at, this was fairly subtle on this particular model, or this particular aircraft. So we're not going to go crazy, and it wasn't very curved. The airflow was pretty straight out of the exhaust stacks. But what it did have was a little bit of a light tinge, so it was like the engine was running slightly lean, or had some additive or something in it. If you can see that. I don't even know if that's showing up on camera, to be honest. It's going to need a little bit more weathering. Okay, it's very subtle, might be too subtle, we'll see. I'm going to work out what I'm going to use for the other colour. I'm going to have a grey brown colour of some sort. Burnt iron, sounds good. See if that will do it. Yeah, that might do it. Yeah, it's a little on the grey side. It's not bad. whether I want to risk it or not. I think I'm going to put a very subtle mix that on and see what happens. You have to be super careful with that. So it's going to be quite a strong paint. But we'll see. We'll give it a go. So we'll thin it quite a bit because we don't want to paint the model as such, as rather than we're trying to stain it. So we don't want this stuff too heavy. And we don't want the flake too strong either, for the metal finish on it. Yeah, we'll try that. This is either going to work or it won't. And because this is a paint, right? Smoke is sort of a different, I don't know what they use for the smoke. It's a different material, but anyway, we'll see what happens. Yeah, it's spraying. I'll try and dry it off a bit. I do like what it's doing in the exhaust stacks though. Yeah, I do like what it's doing in the exhaust stacks. That's nice. It's very nice. Have to do. It's a little glossy because of the smoke. I'll let it dry, but I may have to hit it up with a bit of varnish if it doesn't settle down too much too quickly. But I do like what it's done to the exhaust stack. So yeah, I'm going to go with that. And actually, this might work well for this as well. Just the, I don't know if you can see it there, just a little bit of smoke around the gun port. Right. That's definitely too glossy. So I think some varnish is going to have to go on later after that dries. It does need a lighter colour over it. That's fine as a base colour, but it needs a lighter colour over it. I'm going to have to think about that off camera, what I can use for that. Contrast. Right. last thing to do, I guess. While it's drying. Oh, well, this could be fun. I wonder. Let's try water and see if that helps. Oh, something's happening. If you recall, that's where I had some masking done with that liquid mask, but it's under quite a few. It's now sitting under quite a few coats of varnish, which is why it's struggling a bit. It's giving us a preview to how the canopy is going to be, unfortunately. Silly there. Oops, I just put my finger on the exhaust stack. Oh, that was silly. There we go. All right, I think there's one last job I'll do before we wrap this one up for tonight, because I've got to let that exhaust stack dry before I keep putting my finger in it all the time. And I've got to get the finish right. I don't know why. I can't think, for the life of me, I just can't think what's the right colour to use. I've done it before, I just can't think what off the head. I'm thinking titanium. I'm thinking the Vallejo titanium is probably what's going to work. But I'll have to go off and do a bit of thinking to make sure I've got that right. So this is the Vallejo Metal Colour Silver. This is their acrylic metallic colours. They're actually really good for brushwork. A lot of the wargaming type guys love them for that reason. Now, if you recall, there are, let me just pull the camera out a bit. There are nav lights on the end of the wings, and they were clear. And I decided that was too much like hard work, so I just kept painting over them. And now they're gone. So what I'm doing here is I'm guessing, from memory, where the nav light was. And I'm just putting a bit of silver on there so I can then put a bit of colour over it later. Won't be perfect, but it'll give the hint. Let's put it that way. A bit on the back here as well. I have have to let that dry overnight before I try and put any colour on it. Alright, so this is where we're up to. Let's put that out of the way. That weathering, other than some stuff I'm going to do with a pencil, maybe a little bit of chipping. Oh, that's what I did need to do. I just reminded myself. There was one other thing I had to do before I call it quits. Middle colour, I guess, if I've got one. Steel. Let's do this one before I forget. I've never done it with an oil paint before. I was really curious to see how it goes. So that's steel on the cup there. It's just this is Ammo Migs oil brushes. Yes, they do have an aluminium and silver and things. This walkways on this side. There we go. Very subtle. Right, again, the paint's in good nick on this plane, so I don't want to overdo it. That's fine. That's enough. I've got it a little bit too far across, so let's fix that. A bit of that'll do. There we go. Right, so I'll let that dry. Now just be a little bit of wear coming in, just at the bottom of the wing there where you put your foot on to climb up. Alright, you can see this is looking decidedly glossy, which does not make me happy. So I'm going to have to put a bit of varnish on that, and then I have to put a colour over it to show the lean sort of finish. Hard to see on the camera, but because I've put a bit of smoke on those, well, you can probably see it there actually on this one here. The roundels aren't all one colour now. There's a little bit of fading to them. Again, can you see there's a little bit of dirt on there? So it's not completely clean. Again, I'm not going crazy with it, but it's there. Bit of dirt on the edges here. You can see the gun ports have got a bit of staining on them. Underneath we did a little bit of streaking, a little bit of dirt in there. Some subjects I will weather more than this. A lot I won't, because at the end of the day, it's supposed to be in service. It's got to be maintained. There's a few little detail parts I've got to paint up here and there. I've still got to put the aerial in it, got to put the rigging on it. Goodness knows how much fun that's going to be. I have to try and take that off. In fact, you know what? I'm going to do that now because I just want to have something to say makes me feel better about I've finished it. I'll see how it looks. Oh, this is going to be painful. This will be the last thing. Just see how it goes. It's coming off. And the canopy is another part that I would have done better if I'd had more time. And a mindset that was sort of around trying to take more time. Now there is tape here, thank goodness, on the edges of this canopy frame. So we're just going to have to hope that for the most part it did its job. Oh, the other thing I just mentioned too, off camera, I'll do this off camera, but the propeller, I'm going to gloss coat that centre bit because I've got some decals to go on it, and then I'll satin coat it. And while I'm doing that, I may well satin coat this exhaust stain a bit as well. Oops, don't scratch it. There we go. It's a bit tricky to get off because it's got so much paint and varnish on it now. Alright, I'll do the rest off camera because I don't want to bore you with it too much, but you can see it's okay. It's like a lot of the model. It's okay. It's not horrible. So I'll do the rest of that off camera. It's not that terribly exciting to watch. So that's where we're up to. As I said, I will put the propeller, I'll gloss coat that, and then I'll put the decals on. Then that'll be ready for fitting there, obviously. Before I do that, I'll have to put the landing gear together, which is going to be a bit exciting because I'm a little wary about the way Airfix have come up with mounting that. I also have to paint the navigation lights, which you'll see. Which I just realised I haven't done quite as well as I thought. I'll fix that up off camera. And I've got the landing gear, the back tail wheel to go in. Exhaust stacks obviously need a little bit more touch up, but we're getting there. It's starting to look like a Spitfire. So that's where we're up to, guys. Thanks for joining me. Sorry this one was a bit longer than I expected, but I had a few things to do. And we'll catch up with you on the next one, which may well be the last one, I think, if not the second last, on our 8-week, 48-hour build. All right, guys. Catch you later. See ya.